This is a cable lateral raise for that side or medial deltoid, and one of my favorite exercises overall for that shoulder. And one thing that you'll see of this variation I'm doing right here is I'm pulling from behind my back to forwards in front of my torso to be in that scapular plane. This variation allows me to get the best mind-muscle connection and allows me to get a little bit more stretch at the very bottom as I'm able to bring my hand a little bit behind that thigh. The setup on this exercise starts with the height of the cable. You want to set it to where it's at the height of your hand, your palm, when it's along the side of your torso, as I'm doing right here. This is going to give us the most amount of tension at the very bottom in the length position of that side deltoid. Remember, when that cable is making a 90-degree angle with your arm, that's where peak tension is. So on this exercise, it's hardest at the very bottom. You got the most amount of resistance. And as you go upwards, that 90-degree angle becomes a little bit more acute, a little bit less degrees, and it gets a little bit easier towards the top, which matches the strength profile of those side deltoids really well. Once you have that height of that cable set correctly at hand height, what you're going to do is you're going to stand in front of that cable, so that cable is coming out from behind you. And right here, if I'm doing my right arm, that cable is coming from the left. And when you're switching sides, yes, you are going to be facing the opposite direction. Don't forget to step through in front of that cable so that cable is behind you. Because we want to be raising that arm in that scapular plane, which is 10 to 30 degrees in front of our torso, make sure that you're standing a little bit in front of that cable, so that when we're raising that arm, you're able to bring that arm again 10 to 30 degrees in front of your torso and not just directly out to the side. Find the angle that you feel the best with and get the best mind-muscle connection from. And also, standing in front of that cable will allow us to raise that arm without excessively grazing that cable on our body, on our clothing. It's alright if it grazes a little, as it's doing right here as I'm doing it, but if it feels like you got a lot of resistance on it added from it touching your body, your clothing, then obviously step a little bit more in front so you could avoid that. And when raising that arm, just like you would on a dumbbell lateral raise, imagine like you're almost reaching that arm, that hand to the corners of the room, and you're not just thinking about raising up that palm, you're also imagining like you're kind of reaching that arm forward a little bit towards the corners of the room to help improve mind-muscle connection, help reduce the activation and use of those traps as you do this exercise. And on that way down, remember, always a nice, slow, and controlled, at least 3 seconds on that eccentric. And at the very bottom, allow that hand to slightly go behind or in line with that thigh, so that we get the benefit of this position right here that we're in, coming from behind our body, allowing us to get a little bit more range of motion, a little bit more stretch on that side delt. And a huge tip for these and any lateral raise for that matter, whether using a cable or dumbbells, when you're raising that arm, imagine as if you are almost pushing that shoulder joint down towards the ground. This can help you avoid shrugging up that shoulder as you are reaching upwards and using a lot of those traps. This has helped me so much to improve my mind-muscle connection on those side delts, and it's helped a lot of my clients as well. And for added stability, you could use that opposite arm to hold onto that cable machine. This can help you avoid using a lot of body sway and momentum, but also help keep you nice and upright, straight up and vertical, and avoid leaning into this exercise. Another thing that could really help with your mind-muscle connection on this exercise is as you're going down during that eccentric, especially towards that bottom half, imagine like you're still pushing outwards to the side. This really helps you keep those side delt muscle fibers active and really help you feel it during that eccentric. And again, as you are reaching upwards with that arm, make sure that you imagine like you're almost lengthening that arm, reaching your hand and elbow towards the corner of the room, and also make sure that you keep your palm nice and flat, and you're not rotating that thumb upwards or pointing that pinky down. Your palm basically stays nice and flat with your knuckles pointing down towards the ground. As you're getting towards the end of your set and getting close to failure, make sure that you're really squeezing those abs, and it also helps to almost squeeze that handle a little bit tighter and try to keep on going until when you are reaching out to the side, you basically can't go anymore and your arm basically becomes stationary. And a technique that I really like to use when I'm working shoulders is doing a drop sets. So right here with one weight, I'm doing anywhere between 8 to 12 reps, and when I can't get any more reps out, I'll go ahead and decrease that weight by 5 pounds and then try to get anywhere between 3 to 6 more reps. When progressing this exercise, going up from one weight to the next, that 5-pound increment can actually be pretty tough, but what you can do is you could add a 2.5 pound plate to that pin, put it back into that weight stack, and now from here you went from 10 pounds to 12.5. Please leave a like to support the channel and also subscribe if you aren't already.